Hey guys, it's Fleckes. This week we're at USC University, and we're going to be talking to some college kids to see if they know the Pledge of Allegiance. My friend Mike Lusso told me this idea, and I thought it'd be pretty funny, so we're going to go talk to some college kids and see who actually knows the full Pledge of Allegiance. Fleckes talks. Ladies, can I ask you a question? Social experiment, 10 seconds. I'm very nice. Yeah. Do you guys all know the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
Yeah? You all sound pretty common. Do you?
Yes.
All right, let's say it at the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
I pledge allegiance to the United flag.
The United States of America, under God. Yeah, no. That's wow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. I forgot the last part. I think.
Do you know the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, I'm not. Definitely not.
What?
I mean, when I was a kid, yeah, sure.
My guys, can I ask you a question? 10 seconds. Social experiment. 10 seconds. Yes or no question. Can I ask you?
Yeah, it's got to be 10 seconds.
All right.
Real quick.
Do you know the Pledge of Allegiance?
I do.
Say it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Hell yeah. No one knows that, guys. Keep it up.
I literally have commented on your stuff to come to USC so often.
Here we are.
This is amazing. You're incredible.
We're asking some people, Fleckes fan.
Yes, a big Fleckes fan.
We're asking people the Pledge of Allegiance. Do they know it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we
That's
go,
what
baby.
I'm talking about.
Fleckes talks.
This went viral the other month.
So anyway, Vic, I'm going to turn it over to you. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very well. I just wanted to say, I had a little episode last week and I wound up in the emergency room for a few hours, but they kicked me out, said, hey, you're good to go. But thanks for the cards and the letters and so forth. So I'll be around for a few more years, hopefully, God willing. But with that, I see we have Jill with us. Let me just preface her remarks by saying that, you know, the decision to sell your home where you've lived for many years, where you've celebrated birthdays and holidays, it's not an easy decision. There comes a time, you know, I knew that after 5 years living by myself in a 3-bedroom house, rattling around, doing my own cooking and clean, I knew it was time to do something. So anyway, to get here to Moravian, I had to dispose of all kinds of stuff, and naturally, and as well as pack up and move. So through Moravian, I called Jill's company. They came in, 4 young ladies. They could not have been more efficient. They packed me up. I just stood there and my arms folded and watched. They moved me into the apartment. They hung the pictures. They made my bed. So I have nothing but good experiences with Jill's company. So Jill, what more can I say? I don't want to steal your thunder, but please tell us a little bit more about your company.
I founded this company. It's not a chain. We founded this company about 12 years ago here in the Lehigh Valley. And we have over that time helped transition 1,500 households from current home to new home. So I tell people, so we're starting to get good at it. So yeah, we love what we do. We consider what we do to be as much a ministry as a business. We talk about loving our clients through the process and honoring people for who they are, but also honoring their belongings, whether an auctioneer says it has no value or the kids call it junk. So we start with that as a premise that it's a difficult situation for a lot of folks. They're not looking forward to the process, but our objective is that it's a joyful process in the end. So thank you so much for your kind comments, Victor, and for letting us share in your journey. It's always an honor.
You're welcome.
I think I will share my screen now, if that's okay. So I do a lot of educating in the Lehigh Valley. I do talks at all kinds of communities and through Cedar Crest College and other places. And so we have talks, everything from downsizing and decluttering to how to choose your next home in retirement to the joyful move processes, which is what I've trademarked it to be, to getting your house ready to sell, and even aging in place when moving doesn't make sense. But today we're going to talk about what Vic had talked about, which is really what we call the joyful move process. And ideally what we say is it's really avoiding the chaos of an unmanaged move, which is really what we want to do for folks. So I always start with, let me just see here. The question, do you think moving is miserable? I've asked that to people. Normally, back pre-COVID, we usually were in live and we'd be in a room with as many as 40 to 90 people. And I'd ask this question, it was this big groan. Oh, now everybody thinks moving is miserable. So if that has been your approach or your experience, guess what? You are not in the minority. You are actually normal. Most psychologists will tell us that the worst things in life that you can encounter, number one is death of a spouse. Number two is moving. Now, when I started this company, I loved moving. I had moved 7 times as an adult. My mom had always partnered with me on my moves and we had a blast. She was my best friend and we loved it. And then I started this and only to find out that nobody else thought it was going to be fun. So I had to try to figure out what's the typical experience and why are most people not having fun or not enjoying the process? And so I've done a little digging to figure that out. I basically Googled it like we do for a lot of things. What makes a move miserable? And what I found was that a lot of issues are typically not resolved up front. So the question about exactly where will my furniture go? That's a question that a lot of people have. They go into the move, their truck is being loaded and they're not exactly sure where things are going to end up for certain if it's going to fit when they get on the other side. That's not good. They don't know how much is too much. Where do we stop? I don't want to stop too soon and not bring things that I really want. But on the other hand, I don't want to be flooded. What do I do with everything that's left over? This is actually the second biggest question they have. And a lot of folks, even folks who are suffering from hoarding disorders, don't want to keep everything, but they just don't want their things to go into a dumpster. That sounds familiar to anybody. They want to know that if it's usable, that somebody will be able to benefit from it, even if it's not their family. How do we know the difference? How do we figure out what's going to fit and what's not going to fit, and then what to do with it? And then the question about where the box is going to go. So maybe you kind of have an idea of where the furniture is going to go, but there's all these closets filled with belongings, there's cabinets in the kitchens, and you don't maybe know exactly how much closet space you have at the new place, or maybe it's less, and how do you know where the contents of those boxes are going to go? These are all things that cause a lot of anxiety in people's minds before a move. How long will it take to get unpacked? That's a big question too. We've talked to so many people who've moved 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They still have boxes that never got unpacked, that are still in a garage or a second bedroom or in an attic or things, because it got packed up. There wasn't anything else to do with it, but it really wasn't useful and it's never been unpacked. According to the moving industry, What they say makes moves miserable. This is like the guys with the muscles in the truck that I always say, we use them as part of our longer process. The movers arrive and you're not done packing. That is the single biggest complaint from moving companies. Especially when folks are moving themselves. Some movers will pack. They don't all like to. Some don't at all. They just really want to load and unload the truck. But in the typical moving industry, the movers do not unpack. And a lot of folks get the misunderstanding. They think they meant unpack. What the movers meant was unload the truck, but not unpack all those boxes and things. The next big issue, according to moving company, is that unsorted stuff means overpacking. There are so many people who say, I've got to go through all this stuff. I don't want to take it with me, but they don't really have a plan. And there's a lot of folks that have been in their houses for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And I say, you know, maybe didn't carry things to the trash often enough. And now they have way too much stuff. If they don't have a good way of sorting through it, a lot of times they say, you know what, let's just throw it in a box and we'll deal with it on the other side. My attitude is you deal with it on the side where you are right now, keep the drama on this side, take the things that you know are going to fit so that you don't have drama in your new home. Unsorted and overpacking items means you're over budget. A lot of folks will tell a moving company when they come through that I'm only going to take this, I'm only going to take half of this, we only need to pack some of this. But by the time it's time to pack, they didn't actually do anything with those things. And so they are sending it. So now what happens is the more things that go in the boxes, the more boxes that have to be picked up, carried out, loaded on a truck, unloaded off a truck and put into a new house. It costs money. Each one of those transactions costs money. Overflow means quick and careless disposal. We've actually been called into senior living communities half a dozen times when somebody came in from out of town normally, and this is what the front door looked like, where there's boxes to the door. They were overpacked. The movers got to get on the road and get back home, and they filled it to the brink. And that is not a good situation either. What tends to happen is people thought they had plenty of time on the other side. I'll just spend my nights and weekends going through boxes. But when it looks like this, there's not time. You've got to be able to get in and navigate through your space. And so sometimes things get discarded quickly or sent to donation without being sorted. Overfull homes sell for less. So if you don't do your purging on the current house, so that you can actually see what's there and you're only taking what you really need, a lot of times your house doesn't show as well. And even though we're in a hot market, you want top dollar for your house. So you want to make sure that it's thinned out enough that people can see what they're buying, which is the structure, the walls, ceilings, floors, windows, doors, things like that. Not all your stuff. Mystery boxes make moves a nightmare. That's when there's too many boxes for each room. And so what happens is you keep saying, put the excess in the garage, put the excess in the garage, the excess in the garage. Pretty soon there's boxes from all parts of the house stacked up in the garage, usually kind of willy-nilly because it's wherever the movers had space for it at the time. And then when you have to go find this stuff, now it's a big problem because you're digging through all kinds of boxes. There's lots of unlicensed movers out there. The biggest trend that has been happening in the last couple of years is called hostaging. That's where you get these fly-by-night guys that come in, say, yes, I'm going to pack you. They get a contract. You put 50% down. They load your truck. They get to the new place, and then they say, oh, by the way, your bill is going to be $1,000 more for us to unload. If you say no, they drive away, which is terrible, but it was happening so much across the country that there were warnings were going out all over the place. You want to have a licensed mover or somebody that you know has done a lot of work with people you know that's got a good reputation. You also want to have your things insured. Some people don't. 92% of Americans don't get any more insurance than basically what Penske or whatever will put on the truck, which is about 6 cents on the dollar. So it's, you know, if the truck gets in an accident and burns down, all your stuff is gone. It doesn't cost a lot. I think it's somewhere between $250 and $350 usually to get replacement cost insurance on your contents. I always tell people just get it. It's a small price to pay to make sure that you've got some insurance. You have to ask, obviously, if you've got two trucks like Bill had, it's probably a little bit more than that for insurance, but it's probably well worth it. Number of people get hurt during the move is extremely high. I had never heard about this, but there are statistics out there. You're lifting and carrying boxes. You're going up and down stairs. You might be going out and loading up your own U-Haul and things like that. But there's a lot of people who get injured either lifting and carrying boxes and such. I always say if it's not what you do, There are folks who are trained to do this that don't get hurt. But if it's not what you do, when you wreck your back on this move, just know that may be forever. And it may be better to just get the professionals to come in. And what else makes it miserable is unpacking takes weeks, months, or years. Like I said, a lot of people just give up and they put boxes away that never got unpacked. And so in the end, they're just like, oh man, this is so miserable. But I know this sounds like Debbie Downer. This is what's out there, are the statistics behind it, but there is a better way to do it. I call it the joyful move process. If you go online, there's actually Laurie Hillenbrand, Vic, right there in the front. Yeah, they became close friends there. She's such a sweetheart. She's one of our move managers. That's Leah in the back, one of our youngest, but she grew up with a family on a family compound with grandparents and great grandparents there. So she grew up with a lot of folks in a family of 10 kids, so they know how to work. And she knows how to love people through the process. And there's Christine just sticking out there, half of her on that shot. This is actually in the middle of an actual move. This is what they look like in the middle of an actual move. They don't look haggard and they certainly look joyful. And that's really what they're all about. But what makes a move joyful? It's having a managed move. And if you have managed anything in your lives, and I can tell from the conversations that were happening before I started speaking that a lot of you have had, great responsibility, whether in volunteer or in business. And you know what it's like when you've got a plan and you work to a plan. And moving should be no different, whether you put together your plan or you have a move manager help you. Specialty move managers are going to resolve a number of questions. They're going to let you know what's going to fit. And how are they going to do it? They're going to work with you to create a floor plan. So we create a board that has the outline of the room. We cut out pieces of furniture that has descriptions of the sizes. It's all to scale. We play with the pieces until it feels like what you want it to feel like. So we'll do a first shot, but then we sit around the table with our clients and then let them help move the pieces around, because ultimately it's got to work for you. But we also know about how furniture should be arranged for safe passageways. So whether you're 15 and you've got crutches, or you're 95 and vigorous, we want to make sure that the pathway, the furniture pathway, makes sense, so you don't have squeezing places through where people are going to be less safe in walking through the space. They can help you identify how much is too much. Why? Because they'll go over and see where you're moving to. In general, we can get in, even if you're buying a private home, we can usually get in to do measurements. We're going to know how many cabinets you have. We're going to, in general, know how much hanging bar space you have. So if you've got 42 feet of hanging clothes in your current house and only 32 feet of hanging bars in your new house, you got a 10-foot problem. So that's good to know that in advance, so you can know where you need to start purging, or maybe you don't have a problem at all and you've got plenty of room. They're going to come up with a plan of what to do with what's left over. We actually have on our staff, and most move management companies have access to this, if not on their, most not on their staff. But we happen to be blessed with a lady named Heidi Carls, who's got decades in the auction business. And she can do a whole home auction out of your house once you move out, or in the event you inherit an estate and you don't know what to do with all of this. It's a really great process. If you don't have enough for an auction or sale, our team will help you make sure that things get to donation, or if it has to be discarded, if it's just used up, they can do that as well. They're going to know how to sort before the pack. So if you look and say, listen, I've got a kitchen full of things. I've got appliances here I haven't used in forever. I've got mismatched dishes and too many pots and pans. I'm not cooking a lot. Maybe you're like Vic and said, you know what? I'm going to move to a beautiful place where there's a chef making me dinner every night. That's what I want. I want a Moravian Hall Square apartment with the housekeeping and the chef. Maybe you don't need a lot of those things in your kitchen, so they can help you sort out what things do you really want to bring and what things are you ready to part with. Some people ask us, how long does sorting take? It's a good question. Nationwide, I just got off the national board of our national association. I speak at most of the conferences, and I've talked to other move management companies. Almost nobody will quote sorting. They'll quote the whole move package as far as packing, unpacking, things like that. Why do we not give a firm quote on sorting? Because it depends on two factors. One, it depends on how quickly you can make a decision and how much stuff do you have to get through. We have some clients we've worked with for 6 months, going in once a week. They've got houses that are very, very full, and they're very thoughtful, slow thinking people that don't want to be rushed. They're happy to pay for someone to come sit with them every week or two. And so we work on that. Most people can get it done pretty quickly and find that once you start sorting, it's a little bit addictive. You start to feel less and less attached to your things, and it's easier to say no to things that you haven't really used for a long time, and it makes it go faster. But as we work through this process, we can simultaneously pack or separate for auction, donation. If you need to get your house staged to sell, we know which things can be pulled away, and then moving. So they're working with you side by side to make sure, what are your objectives? Some people have got their houses sold already by the time we're coming on board with them. So staging and such is not an issue. Other people are going to sell their house empty. They said, I just want to move my things out. And then can you turn everything else into an auction, empty the whole house out and put it on the market? I was a professional stager before I started doing all this, so I do see the benefit of staging. However, we're in a hot market, and in the event that you would prefer just to sell things off and sell the house empty, that is still a viable option today. Your house is most likely going to sell one way or another because there are just not enough houses for the buyers that are demanding homes. Specialty move managers will resolve where things are going to go by labeling for destination. I had moved 7 times, I think I said, in my life, and a number of those were corporate moves. Always I showed up in my kitchen with 40 boxes marked kitchen miscellaneous. I don't know why they couldn't come up with a better description than that, but they didn't. And the first move I did with my husband when my daughter was 1.5 years old was over a Thanksgiving weekend. She was in diapers. We had just had a turkey, and the truck sat in the heat for, it happened to be hot November, for 4 days before it actually unloaded out here in the Lehigh Valley. We came from Pittsburgh, and for 3 weeks I could not find the kitchen trash. Could not, to save my life, find the kitchen trash can. Finally, it was in the last of the 40 boxes. I was unpacking by myself with a little one, and guess what was in that box? It wasn't just the trash bin, it was the turkey carcass and those diapers that had all been sitting in there cooking for about 3 weeks. So we label for destination. We know what's in the box and we know where it's going. So if you've got a bookcase in the living room, but it's actually going to go to a 2nd bedroom office in your new place, it will say it's coming from the living room bookcase. It'll say it's a books for the left-hand bookcase, and it's going to the 2nd bedroom. That's how we can do a 1-day unpack, which I'm going to show you in just a few minutes. We always pack like the pros, but better, we say. So we're trained into how to pack so things don't break, but we do put things, you can see here, this was for a dining room. It said the first shelf in the hutch, and that's what was going there. I just, let's see how are you seeing a screen here with mail too now? Not sure how I just did that. Let's see. Hold on, technical difficulty here. Are you seeing that screen with mail open there, or no? Are you just seeing my slide? Can you tell me, Vic?
Says packed like pros and a picture of someone.
Okay, wonderful. You're not seeing my mail open. If you're not seeing my mail, then we're good. My mail popped up on my screen here, so my email.
It says
I don't know why.
destination.
Okay, that's fine then. Okay, so the next slide then, we're gonna move right back into here, is we do all of this so you can be unpacked in 1 day. It's an amazing process. I try to come out on the moves. In the last couple of years, we've not been allowed to with the COVID and such, because they've only wanted a certain number of people on the property. But where I can, I try to come out, and it's pretty exciting to see at the end of the day that the beds are made, the kitchens are all unpacked and organized, the closets are organized, even if these people had never had, some people never really had an organized closet before. Bathrooms are all set up, we connect TVs and computers, and we even hang artwork. So it's pretty cool process to see it all turn around. The objective is that by the end of that night, those folks can go out to dinner within a community, go down and have dinner in a dining room, come back upstairs, get into bed. And the clock will be on the bedside table. When they wake up in the morning, whatever they need for breakfast is there. And it's pretty, it never ceases to amaze me 1,500 moves later, how cool that is to be unpacked in a day. I have never been unpacked in a day because I started this company after my last move, but I guarantee you my staff knows that when I move next, they're moving me. I'm hiring my own team. So the question about how do I physically get there? That's a big question for a lot of folks. I mean, when we were younger, most of us moved with friends and they had pickup trucks or station wagons or whatever, and we paid them with pizza and beer, right? Most of our friends are not waving their hands to volunteer to come pack us up and get us moved over. And a lot of times our kids can't even do it. They've got 2 jobs or they've got kids or they're out of state. And so it really helps to have folks that are professionals that do this every day that can help you get there physically. We always talk about teamwork makes the dream work. This is a few of our team members that this was during COVID now, where we're masked when we go into places. Most places require us still to be masked. That's a tape measure that they're holding there. There's some person got cut off. They're showing, I sent them a picture. I called them and said, are you social distancing? So they were outside. They shot me a picture with them with a 6-foot tape measure to say that they were standing 6 feet apart. Here's what the one-day move-in looked like. It's not weeks or months. The top left picture there says 8 a.m. at the old home. We're normally 99% packed by the day before. And then that night, people sleep in their own bed. If they need the coffee pot for the morning, they keep the coffee pot and whatever they need to get through the night. By the next morning, the truck is being loaded. The final things are being packed up and put on the truck. Usually around lunchtime, we're at the new place. And the objective is always by dinner time, you are fully unpacked. That's a picture of an actual move there with the art hang over the table. Sometimes we hang art later if there's a lot of it. I teach the only class of the national conference on how to hang arts. It's really important to me that it feel like home to our clients, and that usually happens when the final things get put on the wall. That's Pat. She's one of our leads. She's been with me since year 2. She's just a joyful person too. And that is them unpacking a kitchen. They've got a whole team are working at that. We have people that are separating out paper. We have one person on the afternoon that all they do is fold paper, bubble wrap, and break down boxes and wipe out bins. And it takes a whole team to do that. So really by the end of the night, all the boxes and things are removed as well. There's Trisha. She's organizing all the spices in a cabinet. We work with you. Some people say, I don't care, but most people have a preference. And so they can be sitting there at a counter stool and giving direction while everything is kind of flying and boxes are being removed quickly. Some people have opted just to go away for the day and come back. They want that HGTV, throw the doors open and say ta-da. I can tell you that's been about 25 people out of 1,500. So most people are with us for the day and we're happy to have them. People say, do you move the contents of the refrigerator and freezer? Yes, we do. It's usually what goes on last and off first. And here we are reloading a refrigerator. We bring coolers along and everything gets moved as well. We organize linen closets and we make the beds. A lot of people say, oh, I want to do all my own unpacking because I want to know where things are. Well, you can pretty much see in that linen closet where things are. And there's so much to do, so much labor to get an apartment or a home unpacked that, we get you through 90% of it. If there's a little bit of it that you weren't involved with, you can always call us. And we went over to house only one time out of the 1,500. Most of the time, and there's been probably a dozen times where someone called and said, I can't find these measuring cups. We send a text message out to the team and whoever did the kitchen says, oh, they're in the left drawer over between the sink and the stove. They open the drawer and they go, how do you know that? And he said, well, somebody had to figure out where they were going to put it. So they just remember. It doesn't happen very often. We hang shower curtains and things. To me, that would be one of the biggest gifts because I'm 5'2". So for me to hang up a shower curtain, I have to stand on the edge of a tub and lean over backwards. I found out you can just hire tall people and they can reach all kinds of things. There's Pat, who's hanging a few pictures on the wall, and she loves doing that too. So what's the difference between a miserable move and a joyful move? We heard about those miserable moves, and it's so sad to me. With 1,000 move managers in the country, which is obviously not enough. It's still sad for me that people are having difficult situations. So you can have a joyful move and you can do your own joyful move, for many people can, but you got to have a plan. So that's the first thing. You got to have a positive attitude. And for us, it's a positive leader. So that's Leah with a couple at the end of their move. That's actually what the house looked like at the end of the move. They were so happy that they got in safe and sound. You need to have a good plan. So if you do your own floor planning, we don't really care as long as it's to scale. We just want to make sure that when the furniture goes in, it actually fits. So we have some folks, it's usually an engineer who's got everything all measured out and has measured furniture and doing floor plans. But it's always good to have the plan. The movers will love you for this. When you say, I know exactly where each piece of furniture is going, and you tag them, and then as it's coming in the house, they say, where does this go? Where does this go? And they put it down and they leave and get the next piece. They will love you for that. Doing the pre-sorting before you do the packing is really, really important. I do a class called Downsizing and Decluttering. We talk about how do you do this? You know, how do we actually pre-sort? How do you downsize yourself so you're only taking the things that you really want? You don't want to drag decades worth of things that you didn't need in this house to your new house. And one of the reasons I say it in that other course is because someday somebody else may have to clean that out for you. And you don't want that to be your legacy. And I can tell you, there's so many people have passed. I've got so many friends who've lost spouses in this last year that were in their 50s. They were not planning on having to be downsizing of their stuff at 58 years old. So we don't know how much time we have. It's always a good thing just to keep up with it. And then certainly the one-day unpack is just amazing. This is a lady that we had moved from a big cottage into an apartment. And that's really how good the team looks at the end of the day. I'm always amazed. They don't look haggard and distressed, which a lot of folks say that their last moves that they felt pretty beat up, but they work as a team and they love working with each other. We want to make sure you're smiling on move day. This gentleman had lost his wife 2 weeks before, and we gave him the option. Are you moving, not moving? What do you want us to do? We'll do whatever you want. He said, no, I want to do it. And he practically adopted us as adopted daughters and granddaughters in the process. He was so happy to be part of a community. He already knew that it was going to be hard at not having her, but he was surrounded by a lot of wonderful people. That's his son on the right, who was just as happy to know his dad was part of a community. This is a mother-daughter. This was actually Kirkland Village. They said we could take their picture. This is what they wanted to show us how hard they were working on move day. And you can see in the background, there are 6 people unpacking that big kitchen. So we can sometimes have 3 people on a move if it's a small 1-bedroom. We have some of the 55 plus communities. We've had 12 of us and 6 movers. Still get it done in a day. As far as the unpack. So we have yet to have one take longer. Sometimes folks have asked us to take 2 days so that they're not hanging in there with us for that long, and we'll spread it out over 2 days. But that's the longest it's ever taken, is 2 days. We do take safety seriously, especially during COVID now, making sure that people are as safe as possible. And then just kind of in summary, we do decluttering and sorting. We do full service move management, but we also do as much or as little as you want. Some people do everything and say, can you just come and give us, a team of people for 5 hours on our move-in days so that the big things are unpacked. You get our kitchen going, get the bedroom made in the bathroom so that we can live, and then we'll start working on other things. And then we do those whole home online auctions as well. So the reason to tell you this is that there's help out there. And I always tell folks, it may not be for you, but we all know somebody who is alone, that doesn't have family, or has a dysfunctional family, whatever, that needs help, and they may be stuck in a house that's not working for them anymore. Let them know that there is help available. There's always free consultations. Anybody who's part of our national association, which is called NASM, NASMM.org, you can go in there and put in your zip code. We'll come up in our area. We've helped people move from other geographic locations, from California to here, or from here to Virginia. We'll sometimes partner with another company down there, so it's possible. So if you've got folks that really need help and they need an advocate working for them and with them, just know that that National Association is there to provide help. In the end, we think everybody deserves a joyful move. It doesn't have to be miserable. And there are people that would just thrive on helping to get you all organized. So if you know anybody who wants a consultation, they just need more information. You don't even have to know exactly what you want to do, and it's never too early. We have some people do a consultation 2 years before they're anticipating a move, because they think they've got a lot of downsizing to do and they're not sure how to get started. They can get a lot of good information on that free visit in their home, can call the number there in the office or go to the website, or you can find us on Facebook. But like I said, we believe what we do is as much a ministry as a business, and our objective is to just help as many people as we possibly can. So there you go. I think I'm within my limit, my time limit. I hope so. I'm happy to take questions. If anybody wants, I can stop sharing my screen. There we go. Any questions?
Jill,
Yes.
Skip here. You've been doing this for quite a while. Obviously have a lot of experience and background. How do you select people that work for you?
You know what? It's funny. We're actually in an interview process right now. It's the first time we've actually interviewed online. And we had 3 interviews this morning. We have 5 this afternoon. The reason being we've been flooded with work. Everybody who didn't move in 2 years now wants to move in August. And but we also have quite a few people on our team. We've got 3 staff members that were key members. We've got parents who are actively dying. My mom died in January, and I took time off, and family is first with us. So in general, I mean, this to me is a God business, and I don't know where everybody is on where their faith journey is, but it's not what I thought I was going to be doing. It became clear that this is what I was supposed to be doing. And a lot of times I pray about it. Say I need a certain person for a certain slot, and darned if they don't show up. But we need a bunch of them right now. So we're interviewing on Indeed. So if you know someone who's looking for a job, our posts are out there right now on Indeed.com, which is one of the top job search engines right now. And we're putting it through as downsizing and organizing associates, because nobody signs up for to be a move manager. That's just not a title that people are used to seeing. So, but that's how we've been doing it. A lot of times it's word of mouth. Sometimes it's friends of employees. We have hired daughters of people that we moved, daughters and daughters-in-law, who were part of the process and were just so lovely in the process and said, hey, I want to do something important, and can I join your team? So that's actually one of the biggest ways we've recruited people in the past. They've come to us after seeing the process. You want a job, Skip? We're hiring.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Barb.
Hi, Barb.
Hi. How far in advance does someone have to book with you to book a move?
Well, in general, for folks, and like I said, we've been primarily working with folks moving to senior living communities, although now we're working with folks, they can be any age and then moving for a job transfer or whatever. We've done moves in as short as 2 weeks, which is a little bit of a panic probably more for them than for us. But general, if you're moving into a senior living community, they're going to give you 60 to 90 days to get the place turned over. 90 days is plenty. Most people say they need 2 years. And most people that we talk to have already spent 2 years trying to clean out their house, and it's not done. So I say, if you've spent 2 years, it's time to quit and bring in reinforcements. But in general, right now, for the first time ever, we had to turn away work in August and a little bit in September. We're going to be fully staffed again soon. We got wonderful candidates, so we're going to be bringing them on quickly. But in general, you want to be, especially this time of year when the movers are overbooked. And movers have lost a lot of staff. We've got some that are borderline going out of business because they don't have enough workers. So we're telling people, try to get at least 2 to 3 months in advance. But for a lot of folks, if you've got a house full of stuff and you need to figure out what to do with it, your house isn't on the market yet, you're still kind of trying to figure out where you want to go. 1 to 2 years is not too early to start. A lot of people sit in their houses way too long, and a house is costing them a lot of money with way too much space and way too much to take care of because they don't know what to do with their stuff. And if you come up with a plan of what to do with the stuff, now you're free, you can go. I mean, some people will say, I'm not ready for a continuing care community yet. Maybe I will, another 5 or 10 years. And so you decide I'm going to do a move to Myrtle Beach and be near my grandkids for 5 years or so, go live in a condo for a while and then come back later. So getting rid of your excess sooner rather than later just opens up all kinds of life options for you. An opportunity comes up, you can go. But most of the people in these communities, there's a waiting list of as many as 60 people. But most of those people over and over go, when every time an apartment comes open, they have to be called. and they all say I'm not ready. And it's usually not, they're not ready. It's like they didn't deal with their stuff yet. And I always tell people, don't put off a really happy retirement because of stuff.
Jill, a
Yes.
quick reminder,
Sure, Bill.
guys have gear, women have stuff.
Oh, guys have gear. There you go. Yeah, and the guys never have junk. And by the way, it's never in the house either. And I'm like, well, and the women are rolling their eyes, and I'm going, so like, where is it? He goes, no, mine's not. I don't have any stuff in the house. I don't have any junk. And then it's like, well, it's in the garage or it's in the shed. And I go, okay, we're gonna say on the property. We won't say in a room. So yeah, exactly. Gear or it's tools. Its tools are not the same as whatever she's got. By the way, we do a lot of marriage counseling in the process too. No extra charge. No extra charge. And we've never left a husband behind. We had a few that thought that they were going to get left behind. I said, I've never left a husband behind. Don't you ruin you're not going to ruin my record here. So yeah, every husband has made it. We've delivered everybody safely. No one's divorced in the process either. So.
Raj?
You didn't mention anything about cost or what you have to figure in when you're going to move. Would you comment on that so you have some idea what to consider a local move versus a national move somewhere out of the state or something like that?
Sure. Locally around here, so we break it into two pieces. One is for the guys that just come on the day of the move, load the things on a truck, drive it over, unload it. Those guys, well, they used to be, 10 years ago, you could do a 2-bedroom apartment for $750. Today it's $1,500 to $2,000. It's just a lot more expensive. We always say for the packing, unpacking, such like that, our average move, if you take, 120 moves in a year, something like that or more, our average comes out to be about $5,000. We've had people say, I only want you to do some packing and a little bit of unpacking. And I'll say, what's your number? And they go, well, what can you do for $1,500? Sometimes we do floor planning and some packing for that, so we'll work to a budget. Our most expensive one was to a 3,500 square foot, 55 plus 4-bedroom. That was the one that had the 12 people. That was 11,000. So a lot of people are like, they're thinking it's 15, 20, 25,000. We'd like to have one of those. We haven't hit one of those yet, but yeah. So, and it depends really, it really comes down to how many boxes are going to get packed and unpacked. And so the more purging you can do up front, sometimes, if you can't do it yourself or you just have trouble making decisions, having somebody help to minimize what you're going to take, the cost to minimize you up front is usually easily recouped in the cost of the move. It's easier to get rid of it first than it is to pack it, move it, unpack it again. That make sense?
Yes. Do you also recommend the movers? You have contact with them, I assume.
We do. And we protect them with our life because they're hard to get these days. But we have fired more movers than we have. So I can tell you it's that we haven't ever had anybody do that, holding people hostage. But you get guys that you come out and they're smoking cigarettes in a truck full of furniture and boxes, you're out of here. Or you have moving companies that you tell them you need 4 people because you need 2 teams of guys carrying furniture and they send you 3. So you really only have, 1 team of guys carrying furniture, which means it slows it down, which means we're standing around waiting, which drives up costs. So so we're really picky about who we work with.
Thank you.
Two-thirds of the people on this screen were to the house that we used to have, which was over 7,000 square feet, 3 different buildings with a total of 11 garage doors. So that kind of puts it into perspective for you.
There you go, Bill. No wonder it took all day to get it moved over to the new place.
When we downsized to 3,000 square feet, I had already contacted Uline and we were hauling our own boxes and our own stuffing and our own packing material from Uline, which is a company you probably use.
We use them all the time. Yeah.
And every box, as my wife will tell you, was labeled. We measured all of the furniture that we decided to move. I used a CAD/CAM program, which would allow me to label the furniture, even put coloring on it and sit it in different parts of our house. We were building a house, so we had blueprints.
Oh, there you go.
And it was very simple to sit there. And I think after we moved, we actually only went out and bought 2 more side tables because we didn't remember that we needed more.
I'm telling you,
we had a lot of planning, didn't we, Barb? We had months of planning.
Yeah.
And we had our daughter and son-in-law and our grandsons who were teenagers living next door.
Wow.
So we quickly learned that Lincoln should have never freed them, because we had two of them coming with us all the time. They were well fed, they were well schooled. But
yeah, it's definitely a labor job, and it's in you know, you had skills and the ability to think through that. A lot of folks just can't think that 90% of people cannot imagine what they don't see, even looking in a house, and a lot of people have trouble even looking at a two-dimensional floor plan. So if that's the case, a lot of the stress comes from this constant not knowing. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to be too much. I mean, we have heard horror stories of movers who have left at night because the move went long, and then the people got up in the morning, went out to get the newspaper, only to find some furniture in the front yard. It just didn't fit. And the movers were like, it's already 10 o'clock. We're out of here. And so there's good ways to do it. I always say there's easy ways and hard ways. And if it's not your thing, I mean, so many people today hire wedding planners, and, you know, you got people plan your estates, and you got people to plan vacations. You know, for a lot of people, planning your move is better outsourced. And it's also certainly not, you don't want your family breaking up over it either. And oftentimes family relationships get tested if there's too much leaning on people who don't feel like they either have the skills, or if the relationship isn't, you know, strong enough. Obviously you were able to make it work, which is great. And a lot of families do, but a lot of people just don't have the skills, or they don't have the manpower, the physical manpower to pull it off. Yeah. Anybody else? These are good questions. Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me here today. Vic, I'm going to thank you so much.
Thank you for coming, Jill. I can say that you have a #1 satisfied customer here.
Yay. That's always great to hear.
Moving is stressful, emotionally, physically, but with the help of Jill's organization, it took a lot of the stress. It took all the physical work out of it, because I didn't do a darn thing. I sat there with my arms folded and watched things go in boxes, and I came up here and they decided where to hang the pictures and where to place the furniture. I had the veto power.
Yeah.
But they were just super people, and I can't thank you enough for what you did for me personally.
You have warmed my heart. This is why we do what we do. It's so encouraging when you hear people say, just, you know, couldn't have done it without you, and we did it in such a good way. So it's always nice when I hear that about my team. So I will share that with them. They will be thrilled to know that you were on the call today, and I'll make sure Laurie knows, and I will pass on the nice comments.
Jill, on behalf of the club, just thank you for such an outstanding presentation. You really did talk about you know, the sense of, you know, making your client part of your family, and making them feel as if they were, you know, #1, and providing all of those needed benefits that, you know, you provide. And so anyway, so thank you so much for doing it. We would love to, round of applause from
round of applause.
Thank you so much. And kudos
so
to
thank
all
you for taking out your time.
Oh.
And we will keep you in mind if we know of anybody, we hear of anybody that is in need of your particular service. And and thank you, Vic, for finding this gem of a speaker. So thank you so much.
And thank you
And we're
to,
so glad that
all
you're
of you.
feeling well.
Thank you to all of you for the good work that you do. It's the volunteer work of organizations like Kiwanis that make our community better and help to keep people like we do, help to keep people from falling through the cracks that need help. So continue, best wishes as you continue doing what you're doing as well.
You have a welcome. We would love to welcome you to our organization. So if you so desire in the future, we are meeting at Serve next week, on next Wednesday, 11:30. And we have 2 meetings the following month that might be of interest to you. We're going to meet at Serve on the 8th and the 22nd.
I think Jill lives in West Allentown.
I live out in Lower Macungie Township.
Or
yeah.
McCungy, that's where it's at.
Hey, well, you could do Zoom too.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you so much for the kind invitation.
So thank you,
You're
thank
lovely
you,
people.
thank you. And thank you to everybody. Does anybody else have anything for the
Yes,
good of the
I
rest?
do.
Kathy?
Where can you get reasonably priced dumpsters?
Reason versus unreasonably priced
Yeah,
dumpsters?
yeah. Well, I don't know. I've not priced them. The last time I had a dumpster, I shared the cost with Brian's Professional. When we had mold in our family room, we had to do the whole thing over. So
I don't know. I did some renovation like a year or so ago. It was about $4.95 a dumpster for not the really huge ones. You just have to call around. I mean, it's a business like everything else, and dumping fees are going up. You know, these landfill fees are getting more and more expensive. And so they've got to be able to deliver this piece and come pick it up and still pay all the dumping fees, which is really the biggest part of their expense.
yes, it is.
Jill, I think you mentioned during your discussion that you do other speeches or training. What other topics do you talk on?
So I talk about how to choose your next home in retirement. That's one of like considering whether it's some people are going to go to an age restricted community like a 55 plus or continuing care. Other people are going to go just to what are your options in the broader community. We talk about adventurous alternatives. Like the lady who lives on the cruise ship, she made it on NBC News, and she's said it was cheaper than personal care. We talk about frugal, fun and frugal alternatives, all kinds of things, which includes home sharing and things like that. That's one talk. My most popular one is probably downsizing and decluttering, how you actually start to tackle your house. That's a good one. We do one on staging to sell, how to make buyers fall in love. So if you're looking at selling your house, what kinds of things can you do as lay people? I don't teach you how to be a stager and bring in new furniture and things like that, but we do talk about all the things that you could be doing to make sure that you're not leaving money on the table. We have this talk. We have one called Aging in Place When Moving Today Doesn't Make Sense. What are the kinds of things that we should be looking for in our homes? And I always say, even though it's aging in place, it's the same universal design is really what it's called. Making sure a house is accessible for anybody. You could be a 15-year-old football player, high school football player that breaks his thigh bone. You know, if he can't get up and down the stairs, can't get in and out of a bathtub, what could have been done in that house originally that would have made it better? Or a 40-year-old with MS, or a 60-year-old who happens to be a golfer or tennis player who's wrecked their knees or shoulders and needs surgery. So it doesn't have to be because we're 80s and 90 years old. There's all kinds of things that we can do to our homes to make sure they're more livable. And then we talk about what's a specialty move manager and how they can serve other populations, like folks who are getting divorced or folks who are doing job transfers and things like that. So I got a whole thing I can send to Bill or whomever, the list. We have a description of the series. And if you wanted to take a look at that, I'd be more than happy to come talk with you again.